I am so glad today to be talking to a woman who, one of the reasons I like her is because she thinks the way I do, but her name is Maura Zimmer, and she is a certified personal trainer and a certified strength and conditioning specialist. And she has helped more than 100 women get their power and their confidence back by lifting weights. And if that's, I found that to be true for myself. And I am so glad whenever I meet another trainer who approaches strength training similarly. Maura got into this field when she had some injuries in her 40s and had some negative messages from the medical world. And we'll talk a little bit about that. And that's what inspired her to be a coach. But she's a 3-time national champion in masters short track speed skating. And she hikes and she kayaks and she gardens, and she's just a wonderful person to have here on the podcast. Maura, I'm so glad you're here.
Thank you so much, Tracy, and thank you for that introduction. I've been looking forward to this since we set it up, so it's going to be fun.
Yeah, I think so too. So listen, take me from point A, before you were a personal trainer, to point B, deciding I'm going to do this. I'm going to be a personal trainer. How did that happen?
I decided one summer that I was going to sign up to work with a personal trainer at a facility that I used to drive by, and it sort of intrigued me. So I said, oh, I'm going to sign up for the summer, learn a few new things, and then go back to training on my own. And it was hard. It was intimidating to walk into this gym where there was a lot of semi-professional athletes.
Oh, wow.
And hockey players and Division I college athletes. And I felt very out of place and very self-conscious. But the truth of the matter is everyone was lovely and nice, and no one was looking at me like I was out of place. And I was fortunate. I worked with a really good coach. And after that summer, I would say to people, I feel like an infomercial, but this has changed my life. So I went in there thinking I'm going to change my fitness level, and no thoughts about anything else than learning how to lift weights and then leaving after 3 months. And it just opened up this sense of possibility for me. And I was, 40, early 40s, somewhere in that range. And I think at that point in your life, it's often easy to feel like your life is no longer expanding. It's it's coming in, it's constricted. And that, what I learned from, lifting weights and getting better shape and getting through the discomfort of like being so nervous and it was hard, was, wow, there's a lot of possibility available to me still in life, not just in the gym.
That was my experience too. I think so many, the potential for women who may think it's all over, who may think it's downhill, discovering that it's actually not downhill, and there's so many possibilities.
Yes. And thank goodness I had that experience, because shortly after that, I got hurt playing hockey, and the injury manifested itself as back pain, lower back pain. I saw, a couple of different medical professionals. One told me, well, you should probably just stop playing sports, and
but you've been my understanding is you've been involved in sports or athletic activities and even high level competition for a while, to be told, yeah, it's over.
Right. It was just a huge part of my life.
Oh man. Yeah.
And another doctor orthopedic doctor looked at my chart. So, oh, how old are you? Oh, you're in your 40s. Everybody has back pain in their 40s. You're just going to have back pain now.
Oh.
So I'm paying for this appointment, and that's the best that you can do for me. So I was really a little angry about that,
Yeah.
and depressed. And again, I talked to my coach, and he said, well, there's nothing wrong with your back, but your hip is, he kind of put me through some assessments. And he's like, well, your hip is weak and
Oh,
not very mobile. And that was the solution to my back pain. Work
wow.
on a little more strength and a little bit more mobility,
Hmm.
and that fixed it. So I just wanted to bring that. That's what started me thinking about becoming a personal trainer. Because I thought, I need to get this message of hope and possibility out to more women who are 40 plus, who are feeling like, or being told, this is the start of your decline.
Yeah. Yeah. It's all
When
downhill from here, right?
it's all down, just surrender to the downhill roll. Like, no, absolutely not.
Yeah.
And at that time, I remember thinking, could I do that someday? I have a liberal arts background. I do not have a Bachelor of Science. But I started working on it, and I had my own business, my graphic design business, which allowed me to work out and to keep learning and training.
Mm-hmm.
And there came a point with that, which was sort of a natural lull. Like, my clients were changing, the industry was changing, and I wasn't motivated to do the learning that I needed to do in order to continue
in the graphic arts
in
field.
the graphic arts field.
Got it. Okay. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it took me, probably about a year to transition and get my initial certification as a personal trainer. But I did it, and I got hired at the gym where I was training. So they knew me, and they were willing to give me a chance because I was a known quantity.
Sure.
And I worked there for about 5 years, got the second designation, the certified strength and conditioning specialist, and worked with a whole range of people, which was a great education.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So you kind of you learn a lot, you learn the principles. And what I found was the principles of athletic development that we apply to younger people still hold true for the older population.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Not the same exercises, but the same principles.
Sure. Our skeletal system, our tendons, our muscles still are there, right?
Exactly. Even if you're over 40.
Right. Over 40, shaped differently than you were when you were in your teens, all that stuff.
Yes.
But
Yes.
it's still there. That's what holds us together.
Exactly.
Let me ask you a little bit. I find it interesting that you had you came to a point in your life where you were kind of looking backward and saying, this is not quite as fulfilling as it used to be. And kind of looking ahead and saying, no, that's a change. I want to go in this new direction. Was that scary?
It was, I had a very strong gut feeling that it was the right thing to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
But also it generated incredible anxiety for me for a time. I don't know exactly why, because it wasn't like I was in danger of ending up out on the street or anything. But I think coupled with the competing that I was doing at that point for speed skating, which always also gave me a lot of anxiety, those two things kind of stacked on each other.
Oh, interesting.
But I give myself credit for following that path, that gut feeling in the face of, all of this. Like, it was very nerve-wracking for sure.
Yeah. I actually think that happens to a lot of women in their 40s. I generally, in what I've been reading and when I talk to clients, there's this midlife, I don't want to call it a midlife crisis, but a midlife reevaluation. of who am I? Am I really, am I the same person I thought I was? Are the stories I tell myself still true about me? Were they ever true about me? So this opportunity to realign with either realign with something that you wanted, in your 20s and couldn't have, life intervened, or to create a new story for yourself.
Yes.
A new identity even.
Yep.
And because our lives aren't over at 40. We're only if we're lucky, we got 40 more years ahead of us to do and achieve.
Yes. I mean, think about that. Yes. That's a long time. Right.
Yeah. So you got stronger, but you're no longer competing, right?
Correct. So about, I lose track of the years, with COVID, it feels like we lost a year in there. My last year of competing, I think that was the 2019 nationals. And I worked really hard for that. There were a couple of national records for my age group that were within my reach. So that was sort of the ultimate feather in my cap that I was aiming for. So that season, I really put a lot of effort into it. Went to nationals and missed both of those records probably by a second or maybe even a half second. So that was hard, but I knew I had put everything into it that I could. I hadn't skimped. Also during that year, I found myself, when we would drive, we would drive to meets, sort of like the dog at the car window, like looking at the woods and like the natural world going by. And I just had really started to miss being outside more, because training and competing and practicing, it's a lot of time and energy, and you're indoors. So I felt like I was swinging kind of back to my childhood. I was fortunate to have a free range childhood.
Nice.
We went out and could be a mile from the house in the woods, and that was fine with my parents, or we skated on outdoor ponds. We were dropped off at the big pond in town, and, just be back at the beach at this time if you want to ride home. And I there was, again, inside of me, there was this feeling of like, you need to get turned back to that. So I took a year off on purpose. I also just had some kind of nagging injuries and issues. It's a weird sport. It's a weird body position.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. You're bent over your knees basically and pushing with your legs maximum. The skates are, I mean,
I have 16.5-inch blades. Yeah.
Go
So,
you.
There are parts of it I missed. But yeah, so in that time, and then COVID came. So I took a year off on purpose. COVID was basically another year off because I couldn't travel to Massachusetts for practice. And at that point, I had really felt I had shifted to, like I said, more of the outdoor activities. And it's a hard sport to do casually. Not competing anymore is probably the biggest time I have wrestled with that question of, is it okay to change?
Yeah.
Because there's still a part of me that says, I look at my skates and say, oh, but you're good at this. Oh, but you were an example to women in that way. And, you're letting people down.
You alluded to this a little bit. As you discovered new and different ways to become stronger, how did that change your outlook about yourself, about aging, about women? How did it affect you, physically, emotionally, mentally, in getting stronger?
Let me see. Like I said, it was really this sense of expanding possibility and confidence, as I talked about at the get-go. And I think I've started to think more about what do you want your life to be like after 40? Like, there's so much talk about decline.
Mhm.
So as the doctors, kind of feed into, why are we focusing on decline so much? Yes, your body changes. Yes, some things aren't as easy, but unless you're a professional baseball player, your possibility is much larger than your decline. And it really got me thinking about how we are a product of what we do, more than you're affected more by your activity than your aging.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. It's not a number. Age is just a number.
Right.
Yeah.
But your body is meant to move. We're already in a society where people don't move as much as they need to. So if you sit on the couch more and more, yes, your abilities will decline because you're inactive. If you learn new things, work with a strength coach, go to the gym, take up weightlifting, your body is going to change for the better because of your activity.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I think that I didn't think about that when I was younger. You just went out, you just did whatever,
right? Yeah.
in an unorganized fashion. And so that experience of being told, like, well, you're older now, you're just going to have back pain, and then finding out that wasn't true, made me think about that a lot more. Do more, move more, do it the right way, and you're going to reap the benefits of that after 40, after 50, after 60, after 70, so forth and so on. A lot of times, some of the biggest things I hear from older women are, is it too late for me? And, oh, I don't think lifting weights is for me. Or just this sense, again, like the time has passed.
Yeah.
And I always ask people, well, to sort of keep an open mind.
Mm-hmm.
One thing I like to ask people is to say, well, what if you didn't have a birth certificate? What if you didn't know how old you were?
Yeah.
Would you feel differently about your potential, about your abilities, if you didn't know that you were X years old? Just try. In my program with people is we start off with a 3-month commitment. So I'll say, we're going to try this for 3 months, and then we'll see. People who do that inevitably are, like I was after that summer, just surprised and happy about they can do this.
Yeah. Yeah. What if some of your clients said to you, it's like, are they blown away? Are
they realize that they can do a lot more. And I'm there to guide and support and push a tiny bit in the realm of what is safe and appropriate. But I know I've had people say, I didn't think I could carry 2 50-pound dumbbells, for 40 yards. And that might be, it's a certain percentage of their body weight, and they can do it. And they feel so much better about themselves.
Sure. Because it's not just carrying the dumbbells, it's carrying your groceries out of the car and into the kitchen kind of stuff too, right?
Right. Because that reminds me, I know a couple of clients have said, I used to have to ask my partner for help in the house, and now I am the person that they ask for help.
Yeah.
Or my friends or my neighbors, and they're just thrilled about that. Or getting out of pain.
Yeah,
people might have had hip pain or knee pain or back pain for a long time, and they are they are worried that it's going to be there forever, and they're worried that they're going to get hurt if they try to do something different or try to do something more than they've been doing, which I completely understand. And then again, lo and behold, hey, I don't have to have this pain forever. Again, it opens up that funnel of your life expanding. You can do what you want to do, garden, play with your grandchildren, hike, travel. And you haven't, it's not a crazy routine or extreme exercise or anything like that. It is just working consistently on a foundation of strength.
On social media, there's some crazy stuff that people do. I mean, it's it doesn't have to be crazy, right?
And no, crazy is, our society loves novelty and things that are a little bit extreme. That's what people click on. They don't like the meat and potatoes kind of fitness is not exciting, quote unquote.
Yeah. So I follow you on your social media accounts, and you recently asked, I thought of just a really interesting question. You, and I think you were kind of wrestling with the question yourself, but I just was fascinated by it because it made me think too. You asked, is it okay to change?
Right.
And you've asked that question of yourself, and I'm just, so have you found an answer to that question yet?
I think I'll always be asking that question in one way or another. I think I am someone who definitely pays attention to like the phases in my life. I keep a journal. I've done that for, I hate to add up the year, probably decades at this point. And
volumes and volumes.
Yes. I'll burn them all someday.
Yeah.
They're very boring. Like, I had a good workout today, like blah, blah, blah. But it does help me to see my patterns. So, we go through different phases in life. And as you know, menopause, post-menopause is a huge one.
Yeah.
And I think that definitely has made me ask that question at this point. Also, what I hear from clients, it's a time, I don't myself have children, but I know a lot of women who do, and menopause, it becomes hopefully that time where you get to say me first.
Yeah.
After years of nurturing children. But there's a lot of identity change, I think, for everybody in menopause and post-menopause, including myself. And some of it's very positive. I feel like I've been able to unhook myself from things that I used to worry about when I was younger. Like, I wouldn't want to be 25 again, because how much time I spent worrying about my appearance and, my clothes, shoes, hair, face, nothing was ever right.
Yeah.
So, and then you get to be in your 50s and 60s and everybody's telling you you should be like 25-year-old, you should look like a 25-year-old. But I wasn't happy with my looks when I was 25. So now I'm just going to be happy being me.
Yeah. And I've heard it, having no more shits to give. It's like,
right, exactly. Yeah. Yes.
I don't care about that anymore. I don't
care. Yeah. And I'm grateful to be healthy. I'm grateful for what my body can do, hiking, kayaking, etc., instead of worrying about if it's looks the right way or pleases the right people.
Yeah. I think it's a time to come into our own power in our lives, and to discover my power and strength kind of fed into that discovery of my personal power as a person, as a woman, things that I might have not let surface. I there's a phrase some cultures call menopause second spring. And I really like that. I like that way of thinking, because for me, that's what it's been like.
Yeah. Were there aspects of that change that kind of you wrestled with? Did you ever feel like, you needed to please people, or that you were
Oh
being
gosh, I was a total people pleaser.
Yeah.
And then at some point, I was in my mid 50s, and I said, it was like, when's it my turn?
Right.
And the answer was whenever you want it to be. Like, oh.
Yes, that's a great
Really?
Yeah, I like that. Very true.
And that was kind of liberating. It was kind of humbling. It was like, oh.
Oh.
Oh, I have to do it.
Right.
The fairy godmother doesn't go.
Mm-hmm.
When you find out you're your own fairy godmother, it's
Right.
kind of
Right.
cool.
That'd be a great t-shirt.
I'm my own fairy godmother. Oh, totally. We've covered a lot about your experiences personally and your perspective as a trainer and working with older women. What question should I have asked you that I haven't asked?
Oh gosh, that is a good question. I think the only the PS, or maybe a parting thought that I'd like to add is that it is good to shake things up a little bit when you're an adult. You can get in a comfortable rut, I think, and that if that is one thing I learned from speed skating was the uncomfortable that you feel when you try new things and do new things and kind of shift is a sign that you are growing. It's a sign of growth.
I love that. I love that.
It's good to put yourself in those situations.
Yeah. Yeah. Get comfortable with being uncomfortable.
Yeah. Sometimes, right? We all need,
we all need
the parts where it's kind of smooth sailing.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah.
You don't want to just always feel that way, because it means you're kind of stuck. Yeah.
Right. But getting unstuck is important.
Yes.
Awesome. Maura, what's it like to train with you when your clients work with you?
So I have a 12-week program for postmenopausal women where I work with people at their homes for an hour per week. And you don't need a ton of space. You don't need a ton of equipment. And then I also set you up with additional workouts that you access online.
Okay. Yeah. You can find Maura on Instagram at modernstrength_RI. And you can find her on Facebook as Maura Zimmer. And she has a website, modernstrengthri.com. If you're interested in contacting Maura, check out the show notes and send her a message. Maura, it's been great. Thank you again so much for your time. I like I said at the outset, I enjoyed talking to you. I think the more women involved in strength training, especially women over 40, representation matters. And I would love for more women to discover what strength training can do for them. So I'm so glad that you are out there making a difference.
Thank you, Tracy. It has been truly my pleasure speaking with you today.
Great, great.